coach for about 16 years. Another great coach, Coach DeJuan Taylor, wide receiver coach, offensive coordinator for Alabama A&M. He's the originator of this outlaw receiving group, as I know it, and he has put together a very great lineage of receivers at Alabama A&M, and it dates all the way back to 2018. And then lastly, Coach Milton Patterson, the defensive line coach of Florida A&M. He came up with guys Savion Williams. He came up with Isaiah Land, all those guys. So firstly, we're going to talk about Coach David Blanchard. Coach David Blanchard has been at South Carolina State since 2007. He's the OG. He's a vet. He's the right-hand man to Coach Buddy Pugh. These guys work together. Now, what's so impressive about what Coach Blanchard has done, he's able to put together great duos on the defensive line. And his first duo that he put together was Andrew Carter and Alex Glover. Andrew Carter entered South Carolina State in 2009. Alex Glover entered in 2010. These two guys came together as a tandem and wreaked havoc amongst the MEAC, right? In the latter 2 years of their career, the South Carolina State Bulldogs went 8-4 and 9-4. They were trending forward as they left. Now, just speaking about that, didn't really get to see many highlights from these guys. Hard to find those highlights, mostly based upon numbers and stats and credentials, the way I kind of did this for the older guys. So Andrew Carter, he in 2012, he had around 41 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Alex Glover in 2012 had 43 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. They were menaces off the edge, man. They made a difference. So in saying that, making a difference, they set the tone. From those two guys, they passed the torch to one of the greatest defensive linemen to ever play at South Carolina State, which is Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave had one of his best years in 2014, but he started all 47 games while he was at South Carolina State. All 47. He was the guy. From 2012 to 2015, he was the best player on the South Carolina State defensive line. He accumulated 200 tackles, 62 tackles for loss during this time period, 37 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. He was all over the place. If you don't know, Javon Hargrave is an all-pro defensive lineman in the NFL right now. From Javon Hargrave, you move on to Tyrell Goodwin. Tyrell Goodwin was an absolute menace. He was passed the torch and given the torch at kind of an odd time, right? 2015, 2019. And in this time, Tyrell Goodwin really made good on, Coach David Blanchard's defensive line. He ensured that it was still a top group. Now, Tyrell Goodwin in 2015 had 39 tackles, but dig this, 15 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and fumble recovery. He did his thing, was all MEAC. All these guys are all MEAC. First team, top, consistently, first team. And then we go on from those two guys to Patrick Goebelt and my guy Jablonski Green. Patrick Goebelt and Jablonski Green within the past 2 years have really been a showcase for what South Carolina State can do. Just go watch the Celebration Bowl back in 2021. They had a coming out party. That year, Jablonski Green goes for 19.5 tackles for loss at defensive line. Patrick Goebelt goes for 11.5 tackles for loss. This past year, Patrick Goebelt just went for 9.5 tackles for loss with 30 tackles in a pretty bad year for South Carolina State. Coach David Blanchard continues to put out talent, put out dogs year after year after year. He retains talent and he develops these guys into better players. Most of these players on this list I think all of the players on this list were at the school for at least 3 years. And it paid off. It honestly paid off. These guys were all MEAC. They were top defensive linemen in their class, and they have a chance at the next level because of that. Under Coach David Blanchard's tutelage, you're going to get a chance at the next level. That's for sure. So, going from South Carolina State, I want to get into, we'll stick on defensive lines since we're talking defensive lines. So here we go. We'll talk about Coach Milton Patterson.